All right, guys. Can you all hear me? Are you able to hear me loud and clear? Make sure I see the comments here. Can you guys hear me loud and clear? It is 2 o'clock Eastern time right now, Sunday, August 18th, 2024. If you can hear me, please let me know in the comment section if you can hear what I'm saying before I get started. Okay, so I got a yes. First and foremost, I hope you all are having a wonderful, wonderful Sunday or Monday in some other parts of the world. Hopefully, you've had a beautiful weekend with your family and loved ones. And yes, I am back from Denmark. I came back about 2 weeks ago, and it's been a astonishing, eye-opening experience for me and my wife, who also was part of the tour. In case you did not pay attention, the camera followed me because someone was recording, and that would be my wife. Okay. So she was part of the tour because with these factory tours, I cannot embark on holding a camera too. It's very unprofessional to have an iPhone on your chest and walk around with the subject, with the person that's talking in front of the camera, and you're behind the camera. To me, that's very outdated, and it shows lack of professionalism. So, in order for me to do that, I have to have my wife. Obviously, she's very, very good at using this new camera that we got. I had no complaints about the resolution of the video. So I'm assuming you all had no issues with the resolution of the video. Okay, which is finally, okay, finally, you guys are not complaining about that. But with all that said, I have to be, first and foremost, very thankful to the Audio Denmark group for the opportunity. I have done this, I have been doing this YouTube thing for the last 6 years, I want to say. And throughout my journey here on YouTube, I have been obviously through several factory tours. You have seen me with the magical factory with a lone wolf in there, doing a great factory tour. You've seen me at in Boulder, Colorado, with Jeff Nelson and Logan, who also brought me and gave me a nice tour of the facilities. And this now being factory tour number 3. Okay. Now, of course, I have done other things like store tours, but I'm strictly talking about factory tours. And I have to give flowers when flowers are to be handed out. The Audio Denmark group has been an absolutely amazing host for me, my family, and those who travel to Denmark. Denmark, to me, has left me with my jaw completely open because of how, number one, how friendly people are. Number two, how welcoming everyone is, how clean the country is. The food is amazing. The weather was beautiful when I was there. Of course, yes, I understand it was in the middle of the summer, and for them, summer is like 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The overall experience, the bits and pieces that I saw of Denmark was, they were just really amazing. I mean, it almost felt as if I was looking at a children's playbook. Okay, because everything was very colorful. The houses, the shades, the infrastructure, the just the buildings and everything about the city was so amazing. Everyone pretty much spoke English. I'd say I don't think I found anyone actually that did not speak English in Denmark, which is great. And it was really, really touching to see the amount of love and appreciation that we all got as a group. Okay, it was probably, I think there were like 5 of us that went, and it was really an amazing experience. From all the factory tours, I can sincerely say that Audio Group Denmark, where they went far above and beyond anybody else. Okay, not only did they pay for the plane tickets, did they pay for the hotels, did they pay for meals, of course, while we're there, but they took us out to really nice restaurants. The whole experience was beyond reproach. I can't say anything bad about it. And yes, they paid for everything. Okay, so full transparency, that's what I request in order to do a factory tour. In order for me to go and help a burnout, at least market their production, their facilities, their manufacturing processes, what they're thinking is when it comes to manufacturing loudspeakers, amplifiers, preamplifiers, hi-fi in general. Okay, I am not gonna clearly pay for those tours out of my pocket, right? Because I am not going to be $10,000 in the hole to cover a brand, any brand. Okay, clearly this is something that I request that they do for me to come in and create the content that you guys have seen. And it was the same thing for Magical, and it was the same thing for Boulder, Colorado, and it was the same thing for Audio Group Denmark, and potentially will be the same thing if I end up going to Japan to do the very first esoteric factory tour. Yes, the first factory tour of esoteric TIAC. So those are things that I request, okay, when it comes to factory tours. Now, with that said, you guys are here because you want to hear my take, my afterthoughts after being there for approximately 5 days, I want to say, and what I felt inside the factory, what were the positives, what were the negatives, and I'm going to talk to you about that. We're definitely going to talk to you about that. But before I get started, okay, I want to talk about my website, jaysaudiolab.com. Okay, there are so many new products on my website. Okay, I have a lot of great top-end, high-end audio components. I personally don't think that there is anyone else selling this level of components in any other particular website. You may find other websites that have a lot more products, but I don't think you have one single place that has the extreme high end that I typically display on my channel, and also now migrating over to my website. Okay, I do have a couple of other items that have not made it to the website because I sometimes don't have the time. Macintosh 901s, they will be listed. Okay, you're gonna see a Magical Q7 MK2. Yes, I have a Magical Q7 MK2 in storage already. That has not been listed. I haven't had a moment to take pictures of it and put them on my website. That takes a lot of time to open up those crates and take pictures. By the way, I cannot bring those speakers in this room and take pictures in this room. Those pictures are going to have to be taken in my storage unit where they are right now. Okay. So if you see pictures on my website that don't display my channel, that probably means it is in my storage unit and I can't bring a 1,500-pound load into my room. It's too much work. Plus, I am simply trying to sell it. I am not trying to review the product. Okay. My Sonos Faber, you should have seen a couple of pictures, a post on YouTube yesterday displaying the speakers being moved around with my friend Carlos and a friend of his that came over last weekend to help me move the speakers. And so those are quote unquote tentatively for sale. Okay, so if you have any interest on my Sonos Faber SE17, all you got to do is shoot me an email, okay, jaudiolab@gmail.com, or go to my website, submit a form. I'm going to get an email and we can hop on the phone and talk about all these top-end electronics, okay? There are many other things that I can think of right now. I have actually a couple of CH Precision pieces that you guys don't know about. They're in the room. You're going to see some CH Precision as well, besides the L1X1 that I have here. You're going to see another CH Precision amplifier and preamplifier that's sitting right behind this camera that I have not had a chance to unveil. I am right now also working on the next best power amplifier of 2024. Okay. So it is here. It's been going through a breaking process. I have approximately 120 hours on this amplifier at the moment. 120 hours of breaking. It's brand new. I'm the first owner, and so that amplifier will probably be unveiled in about 48 hours. I'm working on the footage. I'm trying to think of ways to make the footage very eye-catching so that I can have a lot of people ready to enjoy a great video of the best power amplifier that I have owned in 2024. It is here. It is six figures. It is not cheap. It is a boatload of money. I am not ashamed to say this. I am dedicated to the ultra high end. You come here to see items that you probably never see anywhere else. Let's be honest. Most of you will probably never see a Sonos Faber SE17 in person in real life. Most of you probably will never see a Griffin Apex Boulder 3050s in real life, because those are components that typically do not show up at shows. Wilson Audio Chronosonics. Unless you go to a dealer, a premium dealer, you're never going to see a Wilson Audio Chronosonic XVX. Well, you saw it here for approximately 9 months. So this is my core. My main niche is the ultra high end. That said, I will be doing, of course, small reviews of, for instance, PS Audio, the FR5s, the stand mount speakers. You may see a review of those coming from me. I'm in conversations with PS Audio at the moment to see if we can make this review a possibility. So there is some interest from PS Audio's side to send me a pair of FR5s so that I can live with them for some time behind closed doors and eventually come out with my formal review. The reason why I'm doing that is because I am trying to essentially diversify a little more and not do just strictly 100% the ultra high end. I understand some of you cannot afford the level of electronics that I normally display here, and I get that. So I have to be fair to those of you who cannot and bring you something, that is popping, that is popular, that is trending right now, that people are talking about, and then give you my take on it, give you my real world opinion of after living with this component for at least a couple of weeks to see if it's really indeed worth the asking price. So hopefully that review takes place in the near future. Again, I am making all the necessary efforts to make that review of the PS Audio FR5 a possibility. I cannot embark on reviewing the bigger PS Audio speakers because, quite frankly, they are just, I don't have the space for them, and I can't move my Sonos Faber SE17 due to the fact that they are over 600 pounds. So I have to find a speaker that is easy to position and to just almost do a plug and play, and then take my notes. Okay, listen to the speaker for what it is, and then eventually do a very nice overview review of this particular speaker. So yes, down the road, we're going to see affordable things like that. Maybe another DAC. Maybe I do a PS Audio direct stream to DAC. I don't know. But there are many ideas in my head, and it all takes time, as you know. When I get out to these factory tours, it's very hard for me to come back and hit the ground running again because I have to regroup. I got to take care of things around the house, my daughter, bills, reorganize, if that makes sense. A whole bunch of pallets outside with equipment that I have to unpack. So that's what sucks about me leaving and traveling. Then when I get back, I'm behind again when I get home. But it is part of the business. It is part of the hobby. It is part of what I do. It's part of YouTube, okay? Some of you have asked me in the past, oh my God, here we go. This guy is selling the speaker that he claimed is the best speaker that he's had, the Sonos Faber SE17. I have answered this a million times. I have answered this a million times. In the YouTube space, okay, anything that you review, any kind of industry that you are involved in, whether it be cars, motorcycles, in the case of us, audio, as a YouTuber, you cannot sit on the same components very long because the audience, you all, get bored. That is the nature of the YouTube space. Okay, so as bad as I may want to sit with my Sonos Faber or any other electronics that I have here, every component has a shelf life in my room, right? So as long as you all understand that this is not a typical situation, but rather social media, then I think you can understand why things come and go, right? So always try to think about things in that fashion when it comes to YouTube. And again, look at your other reviewers from other industries that you may follow. If they're reviewing products, they got to keep switching. They have to, because that's just how YouTube is, okay? But without any further delays, okay, let's get started into this amazing factory tour in Denmark, okay, and give you my pros and cons, okay? So the pros of this factory tour, let me get started with the pros. The pros of the factory tour for me was, number one, the amount of knowledge that these guys transfer over to me. For instance, when they were talking about, metals, aluminum, excuse me, aluminum, that we're talking about copper, that we're talking about, titanium. Everything has a sound. And they did a couple of tests behind closed doors that I unfortunately could not record because there's only so much recording I can do. And yes, I can certainly say that every single material has a sound to it. It was cool to understand it in practice. It was cool to see it, touch it, feel it, hear it. And so that to me was really, really a huge pro for me because it allows me to understand that, so when you build a speaker and it has X material or it has V material or Y material, what is that material going to add to the tonality of the speaker, right? Is it going to enhance it? Is it going to turn it into something else? Is it going to make the speaker more analytical, sterile? Is it going to make the speaker more real sounding, more organic if it's made out of wood? So those things to me were so cool to see, including drivers, right? You guys remember that video where he's dropping something in the basket that is made out of copper, and you see how that's sliding very slowly inside the basket, and then he removes it and he slides the same identical thing, but it was titanium, and he went right in, right? No resistance, right? I enjoy that type of knowledge transfer, right? I really, really loved those types of experiments that they were able to perform in front of us. That to me was an eye opener again. To me, I love that. I love seeing this because I want to understand why a basket made out of whatever material is $3,000, which is, I believe, the case of the N series, the woofers. The basket, I think he said it's like $3,000. Okay, so I understand that. It is expensive, but they showed me with facts what goes into these speakers and why they are the money that they are. So that was a pro in itself. Another pro was, of course, the fact that these guys are extremely, extremely passionate, OCD, I would say, about audio. I mean, they're thinking about every single aspect from the inductance, which, if you remember Lars, he was very, very, very opinionated and very strong about inductance and why inductance is bad and why you don't want to have it and how it creates issues with the dynamic contrast and all of this, right? He talked about it at length if you watch my factory tour. And so that to me, again, was to see that they go so deep into every single aspect of their amplifiers, their preamplifiers, why the cables cost what they cost, and what's in the cables, what kind of materials are in the cables, all of those things to me where really like, what? I don't think anyone explained things to me to that degree. When I have been in other factories, I don't think anyone gave it to me so technical. And then not only explain it to me why this material is bad, but not only am I going to explain it to you, let me show it to you and then show you with actual components the reason why that is. To me, that is fascinating, right? To me, it's kind of like you're teaching me how to change a car alternator, and you're not only just talking but also popping the hood and showing me how to remove the alternator, how to put a new one back in, and why this new high ampere, high voltage alternator is superior. And that's cool to see that. I don't think I have ever been taught that way. So that is, again, their philosophy and the way they explain things is certainly another pro for me from my time there. One massive pro of my audio group Denmark factory tour is, and very few of you have even made a comment, remotely made a comment about this, which I am very shocked and somewhat disappointed that none of you bothered to mention what I'm about to mention. Okay? None of you did. When I asked about Chinese cabinets, Chinese parts, did you see them shy away from that conversation? When I asked about other things, other difficult questions like that. I think there were like another, I can't remember the next question that I had there. They didn't shy away. They were very open and transparent and not afraid to answer questions, hard, tough questions, okay, that I have never asked any other brand, period, on camera. They didn't give a damn. They went after. They said, this is why we do what we do. The Chinese have the best CNC machines. I don't care who believes it or doesn't believe it. And you know what? I am a believer in what they said to me. I believe they do have the best CNC machines around the globe when it comes to this type of work. I believe they are probably the most capable because of the money they have. So to hear them have this level of transparency with us, to not shy away, to not be afraid of be put up basically against the wall, kudos to them. Kudos to them, because I personally have never seen any other brand on YouTube be asked these questions. So, yes, again, I am very surprised that none of you in the comment section said, you know what, I may not agree with their response, but damn, I give them props, man, for, facing the tough questions and not being afraid of it, because no other brand is doing that. How about we give them some props and applaud them for that? How about we do that? How about we say, you know what, maybe I don't like their products, or maybe I don't like this, or maybe that, but damn, I do give them props because they're open. They're not hiding anything. They're open. They are also, in my opinion, one, if not the only brand at shows that really shows you what's in these speakers. They bring you the drivers, they show you the technology. Everybody else isn't doing that. Now, am I saying that they're wrong, other brands, for not displaying what the Audio Group Denmark displays at shows? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I can say that at least the Audio Group Denmark, they go a couple of steps above and beyond. They just open up their hands and show you, this is what's in there. Let me show you what it is. Touch it, feel it. Let me explain to you what's this. That's cool. To me, that's really, really cool to see. And so when I add all these things up that I just talked about, all these pros about my factory tour, I can say that there was a moment in which I was very afraid of asking these questions, especially this question about Chinese cabinets. But they told me behind cameras, no, ask whatever you want, Jay. We're not afraid. Ask us. It's cool. It's called ask. We don't give a damn. We'll answer questions. I have a lot of respect for someone that can do those things, that can say those things on camera, on YouTube, which is probably the most scrutinized social media space out there. They didn't shy away from that. Kudos to them one more time. Nothing but respect for me for allowing me to ask tough questions so that my audience can hopefully see the level of transparency and honesty that you guys have. So again, at a high level, these are the pros of this factory tour. I'm going to pause right now, and I am going to read some of your questions to see what you guys are saying before I switch over to the cons of the factory tour. All right, here we go. Great, there you go. Thank you for watching my factory tour. It really is a lot of work, so I appreciate all the views, all the likes, and obviously all of you who subscribe to the channel because of the tour. Okay. Question is, will it be easy to remain faithful to your original way of assessing gears if you have more and more cost coverage? Yes, it will be easy because, first of all, I'm not reviewing the gear right now, right? I am simply talking about my experience at the factory. I give you my pros, and my pros align with what the video displayed, right? You guys saw my questions. I'm tying the dots. I'm connecting the dots at this point. And everything has pros and everything has cons. This is why I'm going to do both on this video. But I don't think it would affect me in any way, shape, or form because number one, I haven't bought anything from them. I don't have anything that they build. I don't. But does that mean I cannot go and appreciate what they make? No, I think I can still be objective and respect them for their transparency, obviously for their, high level of intelligence when it comes to when it comes to building these products, because they are very passionate. They are very OCD about this. No, again, to answer your question, I don't think there is any sort of bias, if you will, because they're paying me to go to the factory. I am not going to pay for factory tours. I am not going to pay $10,000 to lose 4 days of my life here to cover somebody else. That is not what I do. I'm a business. I've said it a million times. So is everybody else that you follow. Everyone is a business. Every channel you follow is a business. Okay. If you have never thought about this, well, I'm going to give you a reality check. Every single channel that you follow is a business. They have merchandise at the bottom for sale, just like I do. They have a website, just like I do. They're trying to sell you something, just like I do. We are all businesses, right? They may not want you to hear that because maybe people unsubscribe, but I'm not afraid of it. I'm going to tell you it's a business, right? So I am not in position to lose money to do factory tours, folks. That we're talking $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 when you add the plane tickets to Denmark. God knows how much it would have been. Hotel, plane tickets, meals, restaurants, all these things add up. Not doing that. So part of my requirement is yes, the trip and hotel travel expenses need to be covered by them. Nothing else. Nothing else. When I get back home, all I'm saying is I don't need to have money come out of my pocket to cover that because I already have to come home and do work to edit video. And that is my hours that I am not getting compensated. That's my way, I guess, of paying back for the trip itself. So no concern whatsoever. Cool, man. Awesome. Greg Weaver is really good. Made in China is a bigger problem for people from the US than Europeans. We know better. Well, yeah, I mean, maybe that's the case. Maybe people in Europe are not as bothered by Chinese made products as we are in the United States. Maybe I think also has to do with this trade war and politics and the leaders of both countries and the beef between China and the US. Maybe that's what it is. And so it penetrates, it bleeds into this hobby of ours. It bleeds into products that we may love from China, but because China and the United States are not, are never eye to eye. Maybe that's why there is that. If it's Chinese, I don't want it type of attitude from a lot of American people, right? So, good point. They seemed very straightforward and affable, likable guys with a lot of knowledge. As I said, I didn't have any problems there. I felt very comfortable, and I asked all the questions I wanted. I'm actually mad at myself because I had a couple of extra questions that I wanted to ask, and I forgot to ask them. So maybe at a show I'll ask them. But they again, and if you see them at shows, okay, you will. If you go to Expona, if you go to Capital Audio Fest, they might be there. I'm gonna tell you right now, if you see them at shows, ask them. They'll answer you. They have no problems answering any questions you may have. Okay, just be respectful, right? That's all I'm asking you to be. Be respectful, and they'll answer any questions you may have. Nothing wrong with Chinese CNC milling. Inexpensive, quick delivery, and very high quality. I agree, man. Listen, I mean, I'm not a manufacturer, right? I don't build anything. But I can tell you that if they have and they're the most qualified, makers of cabinets, as Audio Group Denmark said, because of all the machines that they have and all the machines, the CNC equipment, and all of this, then yeah, I mean, let them do what they do best. I mean, in the United States, yeah, I know speakers like loudspeaker brands like Magical and Wilson. Like, I'm aware that they build their own cabinets in house, uh, but who knows how much of that labor cost is jacking up the prices on such speakers. Meaning, let's just hypothetically say the Magical M6, which MSRPs for close to $200,000. Let's say it was made in China, the cabinet. How much is that speaker now? What's the MSRP on that Magical M6 if that cabinet was made in China? All that labor. Now, of course, I'm thinking about the logistics. Jesus, the transportation from that massive cabinet from China back to the US, or from, I mean, it's expensive, but I think how much is that cabinet? How much is that speaker going to be? What's the new MSRP? 150? Is it going to be $50,000 cheaper? Hard to say. 130? Hard to say. Wilson, Chronosonic XVX, 100% made in the United States. Current MSRP, 360. If that entire external structure was made in China, the whole thing, not the assembly, but just the cabinet was made in China and shipped to the US, how much is that Chronosonic XVX? What do you guys think? Comment. Let me know in the comment section. What do you think it would be? Magical M6, if the cabinet was made in China, and the Chronosonic XVX, if the cabinet was made in China, how much do you think that speaker will be in the United States? It's a good question. And let's just hypothetically say that if those two speakers were made in China, the cabinet to cut costs, and they now become, let's say, 40% cheaper, and you can afford them now, right? Would you be mad that that is being made in China? Because let's keep it real. Many of you, including myself at times, we don't like to hear that something is made in China, right? But there's a premium to be paid for that. There's a premium to be paid for that. And so, wouldn't it be cool that a speaker that's $250,000 is now 150K because some of it is now being made in China, and now you can afford it all of a sudden? There's a pro and a con to everything. That's all I'm saying. So we don't really know how much inflation these American-made loudspeakers have because of the high cost of labor in the US, the insurance that you have to pay people, all the time off, all of this stuff that factors into the final price of a speaker, believe it or not. So those are things that I think it would be a healthy discussion to have. And I wish I had someone in the industry that makes some sort of product tell us, like, okay, Jay, look, when I was making it in the United States for this amp or preamp or whatever, it was costing me approximately this. I decided to outsource this part of the process to China, and I was able to reduce the price by 50%. I wish I had a manufacturer, someone that can step up to the plate and not be afraid of it, to be open, to tell us, what is it that, that new MSRP looks like by outsourcing some of the manufacturing process to China. All right, you're a Borison fanboy. Great. Awesome speakers, man. Awesome speakers, man. I have nothing bad to say. Okay, here's a good question, a good thing. All Chi-Fi haters are two-faced. In one video, they will spew hate on Chi-Fi brands. In the next video, they praise and award Hagel lamps, also made in China. I thought Hagel was made in Norway. It's news to me that it is made in China. Maybe some parts are, but I didn't know Hagel was made in China. Paradigm had one also. Yeah, the 9H model. I'm aware of that loudspeaker. Yep, I agree with this. It means one thing: they are sure of their product and what they are doing. I agree 100%. The Audio Group Denmark isn't shying away from telling it like it is. Again, I'll repeat it again. I was very impressed by their openness and how just normal they took questions that may have offended probably a lot of other brands, if I'm being honest here. So kudos to them again. Since I first heard of this brand, everything I have seen gives a lot of respect to this company. Yeah, I mean, and I think they knew when I think they knew bringing me over for this factory tour. Um, they had to be prepared to answer tough questions. I think they knew that I was going to ask things that may have made a lot of people uncomfortable. But they were geniuses. They thought about it like this: if we don't lie and we're just open about our operation, we have nothing to be afraid of because we're not hiding anything. We're telling people exactly where everything is being made and what they're paying for, and the product speaks for itself. Remember, Michael Borison said are the US audio industry is all about politics. You saw that episode, right? That video. If you haven't checked out that video, you need to go back and see that video. He said he feels that it's about power play here in the United States. It's about politics. It's about strong arming, different brands. And I'm going to tell you right now, in the United States, when it comes to the audio industry, I'm going to give you an overview without calling out brands or magazines or anything. Okay, I'm not going to do that to people. I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to add more context to what Michael Borison said about politics in the United States. I know of magazines that are not covering certain brands because these brands have spoken to me behind closed doors, very upset at magazines because these magazines decided to not cover their room, or they decided to pass by their room. And then when the show report came out, there was nothing mentioned about this brand. And mind you, this brand may have been advertising on this particular magazine for the last 24 months at whatever it is. I think it is like, I don't know. I don't know what it is to advertise in these hi-fi magazines. Okay. And so this brand, this manufacturer contacted me fuming, upset, told me this magazine, they're pieces of shit. I have been advertising with them for X amount of years. They didn't even bother to walk through my room. They didn't even bother to just mention me in their wrap-up video or article. Nothing. And I called them out behind closed doors, meaning this manufacturer. Why is it that they pass me by? Why? Oh my God, you know what? Next show, we will definitely keep you in mind. Next show arrives, same thing. Nothing happened. Let me tell you, this is happening. And if you're gonna be like, well, why should this manufacturer be covered or highlighted at a show by a magazine? I'm gonna tell you why that should be the case. If I'm advertising in a magazine, Jay's Audio Lab, and I'm paying $1,000 a month for an ad, okay, and I'm at a show and I know this magazine is there, the least they can do, if we're business partners, is mention. And in room 612, Jay's Audio Lab had this speaker with that speaker and that speaker. It was a really well laid out room. Unfortunately, whatever, we didn't have enough time to spend there, or whatever the case may be. But, or at least mention the gear that was in the room. New page, go on to somebody else. But if you don't even mention me, and I'm paying to be on your magazine, I got a problem with that. Because you know what? We're business partners, right? I'm paying to be on your publication, and your magazine is covering a show. It is your responsibility to cover me or say something about me. You don't even have to say my room sounded good. You don't have to. But at least say Jay's Audio Lab was there. This is what he displayed. Then, period. Move on to the next room. Not mentioning me makes me feel like left out. And I'm paying to be on your magazine? No. So there is a lot of power play in the industry, and I want to talk a little more about why that was. I'm not even going to go there. But there is a lot of that. So what Michael Borison is saying isn't too far off from the truth. There is a lot of that. You have to be in the audio mafia to be promoted, to be on the magazines, to be highlighted, to get a fair review. You have to be in the audio mafia. You got to break bread with these dudes. You boys, it's part of it. And I'm telling you, in the United States, if you're not from the US, I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not from the United States, that is a thing here in the US. Even with jobs, okay? If your boss doesn't like you, your days are counted at your job here in the United States. Even if you're a good worker, doesn't matter. You don't see eye to eye. He doesn't like you. He dislikes you. Even if you're a good worker, your days are counted. It doesn't matter. You could be with your computer on 24/7 working. It doesn't make a difference. So there are so many situations in different industries, even again in the workforce as well, that reflect the same thinking, which is kiss somebody else's ass and I'll kiss yours back. There's a lot of that in the US. Now, I don't know in Europe or in Israel or in Egypt or any other part of the world how that is. But here, unfortunately, I hate to say it, but you got to pay to play. Okay, I looked into the X1, X3s and wanted to find some reviews, but to my knowledge, it has not been done. Email the company, and they also didn't have such reviews. Yeah, no, right now, not every product has a review, so you're going to have to stay tuned and see when that happens. Well, appreciate it, Courtney. Thank you. Thank you for the for watching and liking my videos. As long as some of you love my factory tours and get something out of it, it was worth me going over there. It was worth my trip, my time away from my family, and obviously the work that is involved with it. Absolutely. Respect from Denmark. No doubt. No doubt. Respect from Denmark. Did they produce the inner wires in Denmark or they get reels from somewhere else and assemble them in Denmark? I think they make them there. They buy the raw cable they want and then they strand them. They wind them with a machine there. You are correct. Trade war in beef plays a lot in the United States. Of course, we don't like the politics over there, but the quality of the production is far better and above beyond anything else, like AGD said. Yep. Do I think the audio group Denmark is trying to cover too big of a price range from $3,000 to $500,000? I will speak on this shortly on one of the cons. So stay tuned. Keep watching. Hit the like button, guys, please. If you're watching right now, hit that like button. Let's call in more people. The cons of this video are about to start. Please hit the like button. Thanks, Jay, for an educational factory tour. Once again, much appreciated. What I can't get my head around is the expensive cost of these speakers. Yeah, I mean, but it's not. I want you to know one thing, okay? When these speakers are being manufactured, in the case of the M6 Borison, 550K, they're no different than the rest of the world. Karma's doing that. Magico has an M7 that's 370 or whatever it is. Wilson has a Chronosonic that is 360. I mean, everyone is now with an expensive loudspeaker. So I don't think it's fair to highlight that they're making a $500,000 speaker because the rest of the brands are doing the same thing. And in some cases, they have even more expensive speakers, like the Magical M9 is like what, 800 grand, 700 grand. So this has been done for a long time. For a long time, other brands have been making speakers that are really high up there in price, right? So I don't think it's fair that we're critiquing them because they have an M6 Borison that is 550K. Everyone else has been doing it for longer. So why shouldn't they do the same thing, right? As long as it delivers the performance and as long as, I don't want to say the price is justified, because quite frankly, I don't think we can justify the price on any of the things that we own, regardless of the brand, if I'm being honest with you. But who am I to say that? I'm not a brand. I'm not a manufacturer. I don't know the profit margins. Meaning what the brand is really making once that product is sold to a dealer. I don't really know any of this, but I can tell you that if there were no buyers at 550K, nobody would be making speakers at 550K. Period. That's no different than with watches that are 200 grand. If nobody bought a watch that's 200K, they wouldn't be making them because they would sit there. It would just sit there. Have I been to Slovakia? Never been to Slovakia. I would love to be there. I would love to come. I know they are the homeland where my cable line authentic audio image is manufactured. As a matter of fact, I just placed a huge order of authentic audio image cables. They have a new model, the Extremo cable, that will be unveiled soon by me. And yes, every single speaker that you see here in Top End Electronics will use that cable. Okay, because I believe in it. And I've always said to you, I've had crazy expensive cables. You've seen them here. You guys have gone off on me, critiqued me because I'm spending thousands of dollars on speaker cables. Okay, I currently have an MIT $100,000 speaker cable. Okay, so I just feel like my cables, and I've said this to my ultra hi-fi group, okay, which they are my closest supporters, and they are on WhatsApp with me real time. In case you have any interest on becoming an ultra hi-fi member, go to my website, sign up for a membership. I will add you to my chat room, my ultra hi-fi chat room on WhatsApp, where I send real-time messages and I answer all your questions. There's about 20 members right now. We are sharing all sorts of content from our systems. I share things that I can't share clearly on YouTube, on this space. You already would know the amplifier that I'm about to unveil next week. It's been here for 2 weeks. You would know my initial impressions, my struggles or no struggles. You would know this. Believe me, that money is well worth it. I can assure you that it's well worth it. Okay. But what I was saying is my cables deliver performance that makes you really question the need to spend more money. And that's all I wanted. I wanted a cable that I obviously, number one, I like the way it sounds. And number two, that I feel like, you know what? I feel like this sounds pretty clean, pretty clear. It's got enough nuance, detail. It's not bright. I don't want to spend 100 G's on cables. These are damn good. And I'm using them in my situation with, I don't know how much my system is by now. So I don't have like the need to spend more money on cables. I rather grab that extra cash and put it somewhere else in the system in the form of, like, I don't know, a better preamp or a better amplifier. Trust me when I say this. Okay. Every time I've sent out an authentic audio image cable, it's never come back to me. Never. I've been sending those cables to replace Shonyata cables, AudioQuest cables, the main brands that you know, the main players, transparent, and they've never come back to me. That's all I'm saying. If you only believe that made in China is bad, then keep buying the overpriced stuff that's made by your local brands. I mean, yeah. I'm sure we're paying a pretty penny in premium for having stuff that's made elsewhere. But I think it's the same thing for Swiss stuff. I mean, the Pagani, I think it's the same thing for anything that's made in Sweden or Switzerland or whatever. It's the same. You're paying extra money to have that stuff be built in those countries. Period. It's the same thing. If it's made in America, it's the same thing. While their cabinets form factor looks nice and thin, no doubt for some, do you think they will ever look to produce a wideband near transient perfect speaker that is honor in their more correct size? I have no idea. They never even talked to me about this. For now, all I can say is they have no intentions of changing their current design, which is a very streamlined, narrow baffle, somewhat deep and light. For them, this is like the main Euro look and what they believe in. They don't like these big, gigantic dinosaur-looking speakers because they claim you can hear the cabinet when the cabinet is too wide, too thick, too heavy. They feel like the cabinet adds to the sound reproduction, to the tonality of the speaker, and they are trying to make cabinets that are almost non-existent. Thank you, Rami. Appreciate it, man. Thank you for the acknowledgement of my work. It means a lot to me. That firm can walk away from advertising with that magazine and find another one who will treat them better. I agree, Peter. I agree, but it happens. Magazines, it happens with magazines all the time. Okay. I'm telling you right now, unfortunately, I can never go public with all this information that I have. But a lot of them, okay, a lot of these brands get upset because some of these magazines ignore them completely. If they don't pay to play, then you're going to be buried and never displayed on a magazine, period. That's just what it is. And it's always been like that, by the way. This is new. This is not new. It's been like that forever. Audio Mafia is a thing. I have a friend that tried to get a review on Audioholics. They demanded that he pay for the ads on the homepage. If not, no review. Well, and do you want to know one thing about me? You ready for this? I'm not charging PS Audio anything to review the FR5s. I could be greedy like that and ask for payment or some sort of, freebie. No. I'm not. That's not what I'm doing. I've been offered stuff. I've been offered equipment free of charge, and I just feel like, you know what, man? Maybe if I was in another life and I needed it, I would, but I don't really need it. What happened right there with Audioholics? Unfortunately, they're no different than anybody else. That's the typical protocol. Typical protocol. Now, I will say this to you, okay? I will tell you this about marketing. And remember, it's two businesses at the end of the day, right? Because if your friend is a manufacturer, he's a business trying to penetrate the US market. And then you have Audioholics, who is also a business, right? So Audioholics sees it as this. Yes, we can certainly review your product. Do you mind advertising on our page? And we will definitely consider bringing a product to really take a look at it. And if we have any questions, concerns, we'll connect and go from there, right? Audioholic sees it as this. Why am I going to spend X amount of hours, days, weeks reviewing that product? Make nothing, zero, for the time that they have to sit in the chair, analyzing, connecting, measuring. I don't know what Gene does. Whatever he's doing, right? That's time. And as a business, time is money. It's standard 101, business 101. Time is money if you're a business. It is money. So Gene sees it as, I can't spend all this time, effort, measuring, connecting with this brand, taking time out of my day to review a speaker, to spend time with a speaker so that this dude can sell speakers, and he doesn't even place an ad on my magazine. He doesn't even say, how much is it? $150 a month. Here, I'll sign up for 6 months. He doesn't even do that. It's a tough pill to swallow, guys. I have to look at it from Gene's perspective too. I know some of you want reviews, but the problem is the review means your electricity. You got to use electricity. You got to, take time. Again, you got to move stuff around. You got to plug and unplug. There is effort that is associated with these reviews. You can't just keep doing reviews for free for anybody, because at the end of the day, remember, the magazines are getting paid by those that advertise. So if they were to embark on reviewing every single product that every single audiophile is trying to create, how do they make their living? You tell me. I'm going to switch the question. I'm going to spin it around. How does a magazine make money, right? If they are to review every product and make absolutely no money from it in some way, shape, or form, then you tell me, how does that magazine keep running its business? I'll wait. Give me an idea. How does that magazine keeps the light on? How do they keep the light on? You can't. At some point, there has to be money in the middle, because That is paying someone to sit with that speaker, amp, and preamp to give it a fair, honest review. Hopefully, fair and honest review, right? You got to pay that reviewer. Who's paying for that? If they're not charging anything or they're not at least requesting a monthly membership from the brand that wants to get reviewed. See what I'm saying? Nobody has an answer for that. That's the problem. I bought the Boris X1, returned them after 3 weeks. Nice speakers, but I prefer the Audio Vector R1 Arete. Nothing wrong. I have never heard Audio Vector privately. I heard him briefly at shows. I think they were a very clean, clear sounding speaker. Also a Danish brand as well. It's all about preferences. Just because Borison builds speakers at every price point does not mean that you're going to fall in love with the brand. There is no universal brand. There's not a brand that fits all. There's no such thing. You just got to find the one that suits your needs, your current situation, your space, your room, your listening taste. That's all you got to do. That's the only thing you got to do. Find the type of sound that appeals to you. But just because you found it and you like it doesn't mean that your buddy, your neighbor, your audiophile friend is wrong for liking another brand. He just has a different hearing than you do. He just likes something that you may not like, just like cars. You know what I'm saying? So always remember, it's about preferences. There are no absolutes in this hobby. If I say this amplifier that's going to be unveiled next week is the best amplifier in 2024 that I have ever owned, that's one man's opinion. You take it with a grain of salt, you take notes, and you investigate further. That's your job as the consumer. That's what you should be doing, right? But just because I say something is the best I've ever heard doesn't mean it's gospel and you should take it as such. No, it means, okay, Jay said that. Okay, I'm gonna take notes and see where I can go listen to this, see what that's about. It's just data points. That's all I'm giving you. Every other reviewer, all they're giving you is their opinion. That is only a data point for you to look at, take notes, and investigate further. You ultimately are the ones that live with this stuff. You're the ones that should be listening and spending time and doing your own evaluations. We serve as just that force of influence that may influence you to buy that product or may not at the end of the day. But either way, I don't really care what you like or dislike, right? It's just your preference. And I cannot knock you for not liking a certain brand. Raphael, the good thing about AGD is that they're telling you where your money's going. Agreed. Cryogenic process, silver, copper, you may think that's all BS, but at least you know. Raphael, I agree with you. Thank you for that comment. Hit the like button, guys. Please hit the like button right now. Subscribe, hit the like button. Let's call in more people. I'm going to add to what Raphael just said. I agree with you. Again, the level of transparency, the level of openness that they had was great. I mean, you may disagree with their philosophy when it comes to cabinet design. Nothing wrong. You are entitled to your opinion. You may disagree with the fact that they use titanium when you probably feel copper is better. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the end of the day, I think what we need to understand is they at least told us openly. And they showed us this essentially the blueprint of what they're doing. Here's what we're doing. Here's this speaker. Here's the cabinet. Here are the footers. Here's why we use this material. Here's why we do this. We've tried this. And let me show you the drivers. Again, let me show you that, that exercise, that, what they did, right, with titanium and copper. That's all. And you have to appreciate that level of openness. That's all I'm saying. You have to appreciate it. You don't have to agree with any of this shit. You don't have to agree with anything. But at least you should take a step back and say, this was all over my head and stupid. I don't believe anything they said. But kudos to them. Kudos to them for not holding back and lying to us. That's all. Dali, oh, I've never heard of those speakers, that particular model. I heard of the brand, never heard of that speaker. Flyer may not be the right channel to ask about the cheap stuff from Dali. From M6 to L1, that's a great spread, and all of them give them a lot of value for the money. Yep. Okay, Peter is saying very high-end speakers often have trickle-down benefits to more reasonable priced models. Agreed. Yes, and you're going to see on their next generation of T speakers, some of these speakers will have new technology and obviously some of the trickle-down effects from the M series. Beyond, they're not far from cheap. Okay, they are not far from cheap. I almost pay $1,000 for the pair. Okay. To my ears, the Audio Vector R1 is more emotionally involving than the Borison, but the Borison is great sounding speaker. Again, the same thing I was saying earlier. It's all about the preferences. It's all about what you like or dislike. You're not wrong by liking or disliking a brand. And also the man that sits next to you, your buddy, your friend, your audiophile, your forum keyboard warrior, if he likes another brand, he's not wrong either. He just has different preferences. That's it. Excuse me. Do I ever use CD transports? Do I ever use them? I have. I've used a Sim Audio 650D. I don't mind them, but I'm not really doing CDs at this time. I tried it for a little bit. I just feel the convenience of digital of streaming is just better for me and my business and what I do. To me, it's just more um, easy to play with and evaluate my components with when I have streaming, when I have a tablet, when I have and I can play Cobus and Tidal. CDs, I'm not knocking them. I think they're great, but I don't have a big music collection, so I have never really had the need to own a CD transport. All right, thanks. Thank you. Looks like some of you are coming out telling me that you like those videos from the factory tour in Denmark. Thank you. It means a lot to me to see you all give me that support. Am I somewhat familiar with Burmeister products? I am not. I all I know about Burmeister is it is a German brand. They build very good looking products, very high quality products, incredible, impeccable construction. I heard they're very smooth sounding, very smooth. They're not analytical. Other than that, I don't have any plans at this time to bring them on the channel. Don't know if maybe in a year that all changes. But I don't have any plans at this point to bring him here. But it doesn't mean that I may not. Okay. Have I ever brought? No, I've never considered those speaker strengths. No, no plans. Okay, Audio Life. Really enjoyed my visit to Borison. I own a Borison X3 and love them. Great speakers with amazing speed and transparency. They needed over 500 hours plus. They sound really good. Patience, as always. Patience is key with a lot of the ultra high-end components we typically see on my channel. But I think not just with this, also with more of the mid-fi stuff, you got to give components the opportunity to bloom, to come into their own. You got to play them. You got to allow them to settle. And then once they settle, you begin tweaking, meaning once that tonal character begins to morph into what it should be, then is when you can start changing the little cable here and there, footers, isolation devices. That's when you start doing the tweaking, the fine tuning. Okay. But I think throughout the breaking process, in the beginning stages, it's probably not good to start changing components in and out. I think it's simply a mistake because the component will change it's at least somewhat its tonal character. The sonic attributes of the component do change throughout the breaking period. Okay, so I have been playing with my new amplifiers for some time, and yes, I have swapped out preamplifiers with them, but that's because I can and I have them here, but I have waited to see if they can get better, if that makes sense. I don't want to talk too much about that yet because you'll see them soon. Next week is when the big reveal takes place of the best power amplifier I have ever had in here. And yes, it is 6 figures. That's all I'm going to tell you. It is 6 figures. All right, let me see. Okay, Daniel, 20 years ago, the big magazines also earned money by the manufacturer. That what is new these days? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm still waiting for anyone here to give me a solid idea or way for magazines or businesses to make money without having to charge brands to essentially advertise on these publications, right? So that they can get a review, a fair review. No one right now in this chat room has given me an idea. If you have a magazine business and you want to do free reviews for the masses, for all the brands that want to display, well, give me an idea of how to make money and how to pay that staff that reviews product. Give me a logical idea of how do we keep the lights on while not charging for a review or not charging for any advertisement, because you guys are saying that it's also bad if you're going to pay for an advertisement if I am to be reviewed on a magazine. So then, okay, cool. I'll take your point. Then tell me how. How does the magazine make money then? How does that magazine make money to just grab components and review them without asking the brand to pay for anything? Let me know in the comment section. I think for the money, it's a very tough speaker to beat for the money. You know what I'd love to do is Boris X1 against the PS Audio FR5. That would be an interesting comparison. I understand I work with marketing and sales, and it's a tricky situation. But the way Gene wrote the email was high, very high. We paid reviews only. He only had to make a video about it later. Oh, interesting. Well, send me that link, Beyond Resolution. Send me that link. I want to watch that video from Gene. Otherwise, all companies will close and will end up buying from one manufacturer and only. Differences on taste is what makes this life going. Yep, agreed. Well, there you go. Cool. See, you waited long enough, and now the Borisons are playing as they should. Why do you explain these things? The people that really wonder the world ultra high end know what you mean. Well, I explain it because, Daniel, not everyone here is at the level of the ultra high end, right? And so, and I have to be mindful of them. I have to be respectful of them. I also don't expect for everyone to have $500,000 sound systems, right? I do believe you can build a quality sound system for far less money, not $2,000, but far less money than $500,000 and be really happy for a long time. But I explain it to them because I want people to understand that there are levels to this madness. Okay, there are levels to amplifiers. Most people, for example, would say nothing has changed in the amplifier industry. It's the same amplifier repackaged over and over and over again. They put a new capacitor, they call it brand new. Well, I'm going to tell you this. I think the overall design of an amplifier is pretty much the same. Yeah, output transistors, massive transformer, one or two transformers, one or two power cords, mono configuration inside the chassis, and a very nice aluminum chassis, right? For the most part, the idea is the same, but I think what these new amplifier offerings are doing, is they're capitalizing on the new capacitors from Wondorf. They're capitalizing on better cabling. They're capitalizing on better binding posts. They're essentially upgrading to better components, better, quieter transformers. And so I agree. But let me ask you this, though. And again, a fair question. How is the car industry any different? If we're going to judge a power amplifier for being the same thing over and over and over again, year after year, but just repackaged and made look pretty, they make it look more current. Well, let me ask you then, Isn't the car industry the same? I think it's pretty much the same. It's the same engine, same alternator, same radiator. Do you see anything different? It's the same idea, same heads, right? Same throttle body. It's the same idea because that's the design of an engine. So what changes as time passes with car engines? Electric vehicles aside, I'm talking about gas power engines. Okay, what changes? Well, they go from perhaps a 5 liter to a 6 liter, but it's the same engine. So it's just a bigger displacement engine that puts out more horsepower, right? Or they'll put a turbo that has more boost, but it's the same idea. So why do we critique amplifiers for being the same idea? I am trying to wrap my mind around that. And I'm trying to really understand, wait a minute, but this is what happens in a lot of other things outside of the audio industry, right? Just food for thought. I really don't have any clue when the C2 is coming out, but ask Next Level Hi-Fi, ask them, send them an email, they'll let you know, tell them Jay sent you. When is my Olympus? Man, Tyco Olympus is too much money, man. Me as a dealer is even too much money for me, man. I don't think I'm going to be doing the Tyco Olympus right now, man. It's going to be some time. It's going to be some time. Andrea is another Boris in 03. Look, they take a long time to break in, but now they sound wonderful. Amazing. Lovely. Lovely. I'm glad you like them. Okay, the videos were epic, Jay. Great job. Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging my work again. I appreciate that. I have a Burmeister 082 integrated and you love it. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I heard great things about that brand. I hate top quality construction, beautiful chassis. It's supposed to be a very smooth sound, kind of like T plus A from Germany. So that's what I've heard, but I have never owned it. So take it for what it is. Any plans to bring Martin or QLN speakers to the lab sometime? Martin, I could see Martin speakers at some point down the road. Not in the near future. Not in the near future. Folks, hit that like button. Before I get started with the cons, please, I'm waiting for you all to hit the like button. Okay? Hit that like button, and I'm going to get started with the cons shortly. The cons of this Audio Group Denmark factory tour. My take on vinyl now compare to when I started the experience. I think vinyl is still superior. Vinyl is just easy to always make it sound good. The only problem with vinyl is there's so many things you got to pay attention to. I'm not going to go into like detail as to what these things are, but vinyl has this beautiful, beautiful sound that is easy to listen to. It takes you away each and every time. It's very engaging. I've never heard a vinyl record sound fatiguing or analytical. So, I still believe it's superior to digital. Listen to this guy. Oh my God. Listen, Robert, you're killing me, man. To give away my used equipment, Robert. Think about it, Robert. How could I possibly give away used equipment, Robert? My channel is only 27,000 subscribers, Robert. These guys on YouTube that are giving away cars and all these giveaways are big YouTube channels, Robert. Big millions of subscribers, Robert. They're making the money on YouTube. I have 27,000 subscribers. Imagine if I were to give away used equipment. What are we talking about? An esoteric super audio CD player for 10 grand? You know how long it'll take me to make $10,000 through YouTube videos? My God, I'll be 60 years old by the time I get that money back through videos, through content. Okay, it's just not feasible. Okay, the level of gear where I play, unfortunately, it's just very expensive. I think I may have cables that are $100, $150 on my website, but everything else that is used, it's just a lot of money. Robert. So unfortunately, my channel is not large enough to generate that kind of money to have the opportunity to give away something of the caliber of the equipment that I'm playing with. Okay, so these guys are talking. Okay, the factory tour was a success. The connection between you and the Borson guys was highly helpful for me to know some of the key attributes of their product and processes as if I had been there myself. Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. I'm glad you enjoyed that factory tour. I did it with a lot of dedication and effort, and it was a great time with those guys. Really cool people. Yeah, I love that integrated. The integrated Diablo 120 is a really good integrated, really great integrated. Sounds good with sounds really good with just about anything I've heard it. I've heard it with. Okay, so I'm going through the comments, and I'm going to ask you right now to hit the like button before I go through the cons of the factory tour. Okay, I've given this a lot of thought, and I think some people even question some of the things that I'm going to go over. So I'm going to ask you right now to hit the like button before I get started. Show me that support, because I'm here to do both pros and cons, to be objective and to be real and keep it honest with you all. All right. So hopefully you're hitting that like button right now. Pros. I went over the pros. If you haven't watched them, rewind this video. I'm going to get started with the cons of my Audio Group Denmark factory tour. One of my most loyal subscribers, followers, Ultra Hi-Fi members, a good client of mine as well. You've seen him on my YouTube channel. He has Griffin Apex, Rockport Lyras, MSB Select 2, Strong Tank. Really solid system. You guys have seen his video on my channel. One of the things he questioned was, Jay, the prices are what they are. I can't say they're too expensive or cheap or the right pricing, because I see cheap and affordable prices throughout any single audio brand out there. So can't say that they're wrong for charging what they're charging. But what I do question is, Jay, I didn't see a lot at that factory. I didn't see enough machinery. I didn't see shit happening to justify some of these crazy, obscene prices. And I spoke to my wife about that comment. And my wife said something to me. She said, remember, we didn't see the other facility that they briefly talked about. I said, good point. And she said, so I don't know if maybe over there in the other facility is where this is happening, whatever they're doing, but we didn't get to see that. Okay, so I'm going to say one of the cons here is, and I don't know, I do not know, I'm going to repeat this. I do not know if what we saw is what is everything that is happening on a daily, okay, or all of their facilities. But what we saw on camera, I would agree, felt a little lighter than I expected. Here's what I mean. I didn't, for example, I expected to see CNC machines, but they alluded to the fact that, hey, our cabinets are not made here. They're made in China. Okay, cool. So I expected to see some sort of machines doing something. I expected to see more movement. I expected to see more assets at the factory besides the equipment itself, besides the components in their raw form, and I didn't see much of that. I remember the only thing that I saw was the cryogenic machine, which I know it's not very cheap, and we saw that other 3D printer that was a lot of money too. But outside of that, there might be one more machine that I can remember. I didn't see much else. Also, of course, the factory was in its dormant state, and that means that I think the workers were off. In Europe, you get, as far as I understand, 3 weeks off during the summer, 3 weeks off at the end of the year. That's standard protocol in Europe. And I think that Those 3 weeks happened to be right when we went, right in the middle of when we went. So there were not, the workers were not there. I feel like a con is the fact that they didn't show enough production happening, movement happening. People wanted to see shit going down, something. And none of that was seen. People felt like, feedback I got was, I just didn't see shit happening, Jay. I mean, the prices are what they are, but I don't know where this is happening. I saw two machines that seem to be okay, expensive, but outside of that, it seems like everything else is made overseas, or they're outsourcing the rest of the processes there. That's one feedback that I got, and I understand the reason why some folks may have felt that way. I understand it because optics are everything for people. The visuals are everything for people, no doubt. And so when people were saying to me, yeah, man, $500,000 and I didn't see any magic happening at the factory, it feels like maybe these speakers are just walking in through the door already built somewhere else. Yeah, they show some drivers, so maybe all they're doing is throwing the drivers in there and out the door they go, right? I didn't see enough innovation. I didn't see enough, I don't know, magical, or in Boulder showed, fucking loud CNC machines doing work and, and other things, right? So I would agree with that. I agree that they, in my opinion, maybe didn't really think about that. Maybe they were not thinking, hey, you know what? It doesn't make sense to bring them over when we are in our dormant phase, when most folks are out and nothing is happening. Would it make more sense to bring them over to do this tour, Jay especially, who's filming everything, when we have shit happening, when we can see workers doing something, and as they're doing something, I can say, he's doing this, his name is such and such, so tell us what you're working on. Well, my job is to, make sure that this is measuring correctly. We cut the cable at this particular length because we find that's the length that is appropriate for power cords. Like, for example, Nordas typically those 1.25 meter, right? Because they feel that's where the magic begins. Well, they could have created something along the lines of, our cables are cut at this length. We don't cut, at this length because we feel it diminishes the benefits. Here's the reason why. We wanted to see more of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we wanted to see another dude in the corner, perhaps installing drivers on a brand new cabinet that just came from China. And so we wanted to see, okay, so right now we're in the phase 2 of a speaker build process. So what he's doing now is installing the drivers. We first, before we install them, this bench here, we're testing them with this special machine. Again, a machine, something, to make sure that it's measuring where it needs to measure. And then he's in charge of making sure that it's, snug in the cabinet. Then from here, we walk over to this other process, and we're going to shove it into this room, and we're going to start taking measurements. If we see this not hit these particular frequencies, then his job is to go back to the drawing board, pull out the driver, and conduct further testing. We're looking for anomalies such as this, and that. This is what the fuck people wanted to see. I feel like this is what people wanted to see. You understand what I'm saying? And instead, it was too much. There was a lot of talking, which is great because you get to hear everything that Lars has in his mind and all the vast knowledge that he has. I really appreciated all of that for me because he's a wealth of knowledge and I respect his knowledge. But I feel like there was the need for more meat and potatoes at the factory tour. You understand what I'm saying? I understand why people felt shortchanged somewhat because there wasn't shit happening for the most part, right? And I don't know if they perhaps overlooked at the fact that there's a YouTuber coming. Usually when we do these tours, it's just regular folks that are coming in. We don't have anybody recording content, so we do them like this. Maybe they overlooked that simple fact, which is that I was coming to record content to put on my channel. Maybe they just didn't think about it thoroughly, and they now in hindsight, who knows, maybe they would do it differently. They would have said, you know what? Jay's coming to record. We got to show some fucking actions. Shit has to be happening because the cameras are going to be rolling. So bring this guy, that guy, that guy, that guy, that day. Guys, your station is going to be this. Talk about what you do on a daily here, what your expertise is. The other station, the other station. It could have been better laid out and more organized, but with actual real time production happening, things taking place. That to me was a con of the factory tour. It felt very light. Do you guys agree? Comment. Let me know below. Let me know if you agree with this. Okay, so that was one con of that. Con number two. Another con was the fact that, and again, they admitted to it. They admitted to it 100%. Their cabinets are made in China. They were not really dishonest about this. They were very honest about it. But I can see that as a con with the American audiophile community. Because, again, we're talking about the trade war, which Michael Borison alluded to, okay? And we're talking about how things look when you're building a speaker that is $500,000 and we don't really have any idea how much of that speaker is really being built in China. Meaning, when that speaker is being made, the cabinet is being made, okay, how much of that speaker is already built the moment it hits the door in Denmark before the factory in Denmark gets a hold of that cabinet? Does that mean that 50% of the work the Chinese are already doing? And then Borison Audio Group Denmark is only doing the other 50% of the factory? Or does it already come with like 60, 70% of the work already done and all they got to do is another 30%? Because if that's the case, then we could say, and again, I am just speaking based on what I saw. I don't know for a fact that this is what's happening, but if the speaker already comes pre-assembled and it's already 70% complete, and you're only doing 30% of the work in Denmark, then we could say that speaker is primarily made in China. Simple math, folks. I don't know how much of that is being done in China. I don't know if the Chinese are doing, who knows, installing the crossovers too. I don't know. I don't think they're installing the crossovers based on what I saw. So it would be interesting to know how much of the assembly is taking place in China. I feel like the fact that they admitted to the speaker being in China is an amazing thing on their part, but also a con because, again, American audiophiles feel funny about Chinese products. And I am not saying they're bad products. I think it's a con for certain audiophiles. And you know what? To each their own. We may agree with that sentiment. We may disagree. And, I leave it up to you all to decide. So those are two cons. Another con, and I failed to ask him this question. I regret slipping and not remembering to ask this question, but I should have asked him this question. One con that I will say is the fact, this con is very important to me actually, is the fact that they are making amplifiers, preamplifiers, speakers, cables, routers, isolation devices. What else? I think they're making stands too. They're making everything. One-stop shop. You understand what I'm saying? It's like a gas station that has pizza, burgers, Chinese food, sushi, gas, diesel, massages. You could get your nails done in there, right? Okay. My point with that, my problem with that, it's not a problem. My only knock with that is this. And they're very passionate about what they build. I want to say this. They're very, very passionate individuals about what they build. My only problem is this. You have REL subwoofers. How long have they been building subwoofers for? You have JL Audio. How long have they been building subwoofers for? Long time. Borison wasn't even on the map. Okay. So they're now starting to build subs. Borison. They're going to have some new subs It's a different design, granted. It's a different type of idea, okay, than REL and JL Audio, but ultimately the main wish is to add more bass, to more body, more transients, more information throughout the frequency range, right? That's what a subwoofer does. So the idea, the intended use of this animal is the same thing as if you brought an REL or a JL Audio. That's all I'm trying to say. So my problem is this. You look at a doctor, you have a doctor, he's a main primary physician. Then you have pediatric surgeons, they specialize in that particular field. Then you have neurosurgeons, that's another field. Then you have cardiologists, that's their main specialization, right? You've never seen a doctor be the best at cardiology, being cardio, at neuro, when it comes to arthritis, when it comes to heart issues, when it comes to lung issues. You've never seen one doctor be the best at everything. It's impossible. You cannot be the best at everything, right? And so my thing is, obviously, and as they should be doing, they believe what they build is the best. This is no different than any other brand. You have to be very passionate about what you build and really believe that what you build is the best, right? You have to. Else, you're gonna go south. You're not gonna make it. But my problem is, how can you convince the masses that your newly designed subwoofer or your amplifiers, Class D amplifiers, are better than, let's say, the amplifiers that Dan Agostino has been building since the 80s? Griffin has been building since the 80s. Boulder has been building since the 80s. Or your speakers are better than Wilson Audio, that's been building, speakers since the 80s, right? Or in the case of their subwoofers, REL and JL Audio. I have a hard time believing that every single thing they make is the best there is, because you have other factories, other people specializing in some of these areas for fucking decades. For decades. And so I have a hard time believing that you're going to make X product and beat somebody that's been doing it for way longer than you, not only way longer than you, but at a high fucking level. I wanted to ask him that question is, how can you claim, obviously, how can you do everything under one roof and expect for people to believe that your philosophy about each and every component is the best there is and the only way to do things the right way? Convince my audience that they should buy your subwoofers instead of buying an REL subwoofer. That your knowledge of subwoofer design is superior to John that owns REL, to JL Audio that owns REL, and to other subwoofer brands. Convince people that your Class D design of amplifiers is better than what that Griffin has been building. It's better than what Boulder has been building or D'Agostino has been building. Convince us that in your short time building amplifiers, you already know more than these guys do when it comes to amplifier design and topology. I wanted to ask him that. So I call it a con because I don't believe you can be the best at everything. I don't believe Michael Jordan could have been the best basketball player, baseball player, soccer player all at once. You cannot. There's not enough hours in the day for you to do your best work at every single thing you're manufacturing. There's not enough hours in the day. Think about it. JL Audio is focused just on their craft, subs, nothing else. They're not worried about fucking network switches. They're not worried about footers. They're just spending time designing subs. In the meantime, the Audio Group Denmark has to be spending so much time on every single component, sub, speaker, network switchers, isolation, and make everything in a 24-hour window while JL Audio is working on one thing through 24 hours. To me, it's a hard pill to swallow. And I wish I had asked him that question. Convince my audience that you are the best at amplifiers, preamplifier, why your amplifier designs are the best, why your network switches are the best, why your speakers are the best. Convince everyone. Because right now, it's a hard thing to believe in. Comment right now. Give me your thoughts on this. Tell me how you feel about this. I want to read your comments right now. Let me see what you guys are saying. Please, folks, hit the like button. Hit the like button. I'm giving you the points. I'm giving you my pros. I'm giving you my cons of this factory tour. And I want to read what you guys have to say. It is important to me. Okay. Okay, let me see. I'm looking. Just give me some time. I'm scrolling through the comments right now at the moment, guys. Give me a moment. All right, here's to me, any manufacturer involved in ridiculous level profit level per customer sold is simply abusive in their target audience to their target audience. Okay, I respect that, David. I'm not going to say you're wrong for that. One thing they have going for is Michael is the speaker guru, Lars is the cable man, and others have been hired to take the electronics. But yeah, they have a lot. That's my point. They have a lot on their portfolio. They have a lot, and they have a lot at every price point. At every price point, which is also another con, because again, and I'm not talking about the performance. Nothing to do with performance. My cons have not been about the performance. My cons have been simply about the fact that you have too many hands in the pot. Excuse me, too many hands in the kitchen. Way too many cooks in the kitchen, and so eventually you cannot master anything. Impossible. I understand Michael is one of the greatest loudspeaker designers. So I'm going to say the speakers are good. Lars, I understand Lars is amazing with cables, being a Norda. So I'm not going to say anything about Anzus. Amazing cables, by the way. But then when I get to the amplification part, when I get to the other areas of their portfolio, I'm scratching my head thinking, damn, that's hard. That's hard to believe that they're also A plus at amplification and pre-amplification and network switches and all of those other things. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the only argument I have. And I call that a con. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate it. Let me see what people are saying. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying. So why would they or any manufacturer not license superior circuit and power core technologies and then offer those to the public as part of their product lineups? No idea, David. Really good question. I couldn't answer that, to be honest. Okay, let me see. As I said, the sound has nothing to do with it. Was I blown away with the sound? Yeah, I thought their system sounded amazing. I mean, M3, M6s, M1s, phenomenal speakers. Certainly at the level of some of the top, high-end speakers out there. But it is a lot of money. It is a lot of money. But who's to say that premium stuff is cheap? If something is premium, in my opinion, in case you haven't noticed, anything, not just this, could be watches, cars, or anything. If something is premium, attached comes the word expensive. It comes with it. It comes with it. If it's not expensive, in my opinion, it's hardly ever premium. If you want premium seating at a basketball game, what happens? It's expensive. If you want premium treatment at a resort, it's expensive. It comes with it. Premium comes with expensive. They're together. The moment you remove expensive, it is in premium. Unfortunately, in any walk of life, For the most part, that is the case. I'm not going to say that you may not find something in which you may say, well, I disagree with Jay on that one because I know something that's premium and it's cheap. You're hardly ever going to see that. And this is something that many of you have failed to connect the dots on, that premium and expensive go together. Period. It's always been that way. Always been that way. And I feel like people in general will always belittle product that's too cheap as, well, it must not be that special or premium because it's too cheap. Exclusivity, same thing. When a bag is made, a handbag for women is made in limited quantities, it elevates the perception, your prestige, your status in life, to essentially give you the feeling of accomplishment when you can afford an expensive $20,000 handbag for your wife. So these brands, okay, and audio is no different, but in the retail business, it is absolutely the same. When you walk into a Louis Vuitton store or Chanel or all of these things, okay, and you're buying a handbag, they tell you we only have one left, or we don't have any, or it has to be ordered. We ran out, limited production. This is just psychology 101. They're starting to inject the feeling that this product is that good that there's only one left. It's the hottest selling item. Wow, I got to get it because everyone's buying it. That is part of how they get us to buy the expensive shit. So when they make a product in limited runs, it is just a really good tactic, marketing plan that works, by the way. It fucking works. Rolex is the same. They're the masters of that. Right? You order a Rolex, you wait a year to get it, 18 months to get it. That's the way they get you to buy, because the demand is high when they can give you the feeling that it is difficult to get your hands on. So audio is becoming the same because folks want things that unfortunately other people cannot afford. Yeah. You hit the nail with your last critique. It is a fine line between being passionate and coming across as being the best at everything. To me, two things that stand out: their classy design and driver technology. Okay, cool, man. Cool. Okay, the part of the tour when they talked about their new subwoofer with air pushing, no pressure technology made me irritated. They made me feel inferior with my absolute perfect sounding JL Audio F113 version 2s. Okay, interesting comment there, Thomas. The subwoofer design is a special tool called Ripple. It has its own advantages and disadvantages. The best would be owning two systems: a pressure transducer and a velocity transducer. Okay. But premium should always be connected with quality. Absolutely always connected with quality. The point is, when something is premium, you're getting something that not everyone can afford, number one, that is really well designed, that has a real good feel to it, that feels like you're paying for quality. Whether even if it was a service, you're paying for the quality of the service, the attention that you're getting. So I agree. But remember, anything that most people want to critique. For example, I know when I release my next set of amplifiers at six figures, the haters are going to be ready and rolling up their sleeves to essentially burn down my house, basically, because they're going to be upset that these amplifiers are so much money. Okay. But the truth is, these amplifiers are not made for everyone. They were not thinking about you who can't afford them when they built them. Same thing with the 600 horsepower Cadillac Escalade that is $150K. You think Cadillac cares that you can't afford it, that you and I can't afford it? They were not building it for us anyway. So why are we going to hate on the fact that a Chevy vehicle is $150,000? There are levels to this. It's a different market segment. Brands have to hit different market segments or different levels of money, pockets, if you will. Right? So that's something that I think very few people understand. And so when you see astronomical prices in the audio industry, folks, just turn the page and look at another industry. Watches, retail, handbags. Folks, it's everywhere. It's not just audio. But I understand your critique of why would something cost as much as a house? Yeah, well, why don't you ask the dude with the Rolex? Why don't you ask the dude with the more expensive watches? Ask the same thing to them. It's the same thing. That's exactly my point. Very rarely does a company make good stuff at every single level. Borison slams aluminum because they are incapable of making cabinets like Magic and YG. Cabinets are not instruments. Okay. Interesting take. I have no opinion on this if I choose their subs over JL Audio. To be honest with you, if I'm buying a Borison speaker, I'm buying their subs because I want the entire cohesiveness of the system as a whole. Do you think at least one of those can easily afford some of this finds money might that show a service approves for the same inch parity? I have no idea, David. It's a tough question, to be honest with you. Ultra high end is simple. If you can't afford it, you automatically hate it. You see it everywhere in the comments. That's my whole point. That's my whole point. Not just with audio, also with cars, probably houses. I mean, I just saw a video the other day of someone going to a car dealership with a Bugatti and the service was $25,000. You should have read the comments on that video. I was laughing. I was eating popcorn, having a soda, laughing, reading the comments from everyone. Everyone was livid. $25,000 for a service on a car. Man, what has this world come to? What the hell are we doing with ourselves? Such a ripoff. Oh my God, I can't believe somebody would pay 25. My thinking is the guy bought a Bugatti, $2 million car. He paid a $25,000 service fee. It's a level that you and I can never reach. So why are we going to hate on that? That exists. So the haters are the ones that can't pay for that type of stuff. I watch it and I realize, well, I'm never going to buy a Bugatti because I can't afford a $25,000 service. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to hate on the guy that can. I'm not going to be upset at the guy that can afford that, no problem, all day long, 365 days out of the year. It's a different level in life with every single thing. Do I think that the ultra high end should actually be required to be just that in a comparative performance? Yes, ultra high end should be just that. Ultra high end is clearly called the ultra high end for a reason because it's very, number one, again, premium stuff. Two, very few people can afford it. Three, limited quantities. Four, you're probably not going to run into it out and about. You're probably not going to see the ultra high end at your local retailer. You're going to have to travel to a specific store, high-end store that may have a particular product. And this is what makes it ultra high-end. Even dealers, audio dealers, don't even buy a lot of ultra high-end inventory. Why? Because when you think about it, as an example, let's hypothetically say they're looking at a set of amplifiers that are 200 grand and a preamplifier that's 150K. That's $350,000 MSRP. Even their cost is going to be six figures. That's a big investment for a store to drop that kind of money on stationary components that are going to sit there for the next 2 years, folks. And that's just one brand. Imagine the rest of the inventory, the other lines. It could be $2 million. That's a big investment. So the ultra high end, to me, I landed on the ultra high end basically because of what I was doing, right? I was trying low-fi, mid-fi, and then I got to the high end and I became a business. I was able to afford nicer things. I was working like 2-3 jobs. Eventually, I escalated to the high-end stuff. But I can tell you, me living at the top meaning the top electronics, it's a different feel, but it's lonelier at the ultra high end level. It's a lot lonelier. Less people can relate to you. Less people can level with you. Less people can talk to you about this. I could go in a forum and search a lot of the components that I have here and find no information about them. I have been searching information on the Sonos Faber SC17s on forums, nada, nothing. Nobody that I can talk to about the SC17s, not a single person. See what I'm saying? Because as you get up to these high price items, you have less people to connect with, less people to share ideas, bounce ideas off of each other. As far as like, try this, try that, do this, do that to make it sound better. You're playing alone, you're playing solo. And that's what's sad about the ultra high end level. When I was playing with Wilson Audio Sashas, when I was playing with Magicals, the S5s and the S7s, I was playing with, Martin Logan's and Magnapans 20.7s. I felt like I could just find information anywhere online about such brands and find enough feedback to at least message people, talk to owners, real owners, trade pictures about, of our systems, right? And get ideas about what that person used in terms of amplifiers, spring amplifiers. It was easy to get a lot of qualified feedback. I actually had a lot more fun at a lower level of audio, a lot more fun. There was so much more fun involved. When I got up to this level, man, I'm playing solo. I am playing here empty in this room with no one else but me, yours truly. And so that's what gets sad about playing at this ultra high end level, that you have a very, very nice sounding system, but really very few people to share it with. And that goes for a lot of other high end, ultra high end audio components, um, owners of components, right? A lot of other owners that I've spoken to at shows are in the same boat as me. They can't wait to talk to me because, man, you're the only person I know, Jay, that can talk to me about this shit, man, because everybody else, I don't know anyone else who can talk to me about the Grandioso M1Xs, the Griffins of the world, the Boulders of the world. Everybody else is just, I don't want to hear their mouths. I want to talk to you. Tell me about this. I'm having this problem. Talk to me about the other thing. You have no idea how many people reach out to me at shows, walk up to me so that I can give them my feedback. And I do them gracefully. I give people at shows feedback gracefully. I have no problem at shows talking to anybody. So if I were to retire tomorrow, would I do it all over again? Would I have my last few days with the ultra high end? Probably not. I probably would downgrade to something a lot more normal, that can still satisfy my needs in terms of sound reproduction, but probably not because it's a big expense, guys. It's a lot of freaking money. It's a lot of money, guys. I mean, sometimes I am even afraid at just how much, looking at my bank account and realizing how much money I have spent on ultra high end gear. It's sickening at times. But this is now why I turned it into a business, because it was getting out of hand and I needed for it to make sense. If that makes sense to you. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay, looking at the next question. Price criticism can extend to criticism of inequality in society. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you there, Conman. I agree with you. Yep, no doubt. When the premium ultra high end is not better than competitors are several times cheaper, and this happens. Do you con Let me see. Did you consider the fact that every part of the system is produced by a manufacturer? The chances of being extremely compatible in their synergy with each other could be superb. Absolutely, Thomas. I agree. It's a very good point, and I've made that point on several videos at shows about the fact that buying from them is a good thing to do because everything is made for each other, made to work together. Okay, but I feel like that is a special type of audiophile. Someone that just wants to find great sound and be done. Absolutely. But if you're into trying gear, it may not be for you. It may not be for you because, first of all, it takes money to be trying gear. Secondly, you can get tired of a system. You can sit down in front of the same system, and then eventually the system is not going to really fulfill your needs, and you're going to be looking for another component. So it's a pro and a con. I think it's both for me, but I would never say that it's the wrong thing to do if you're looking to finish your audio journey and you want to buy something that you know matches and works. Buy their entire system, and you are going to be very impressed. You're absolutely right, Jay. I never saw my highest level audio system demonstration ready at a hi-fi store. Great, awesome, Marcella. Vinyl lover, vinyl forever. Cool. Yep, that's what I'm saying. So it's your level of system is just not going to be seen anywhere else like that. That's simple. That's simply just laid out in front of you anywhere you walk into. Audiophiles don't have friends. I can understand that. Your responses are cooking today. Well, thank you. Can you all hit the like button? Help me out here. Hit that like button. Let's keep going. Where you separate yourself is that you are selling numerous perceived premium brands that many may identify as ultra high end. Yeah, I agreed. I agreed with that. I totally agree with you there, David. Audio Club Denmark not only has high price products, but in every price category, even starting at a 4,000 euro, starting from 4,000 euros, and they sound wonderful. Of course, you just have to like the sound. I agreed. It's all a matter of preference. You have to like their sound signature. If you like their sound signature, you can go to bed with them all day long and buy the rest because you're going to be quite happy. No doubt. Okay, after the speaker cable test, I admired the technology behind it. I couldn't find a reason for the price. Okay. There is more fun in the normal high end stuff, and changing gear is easier with less money risk. Yes, no doubt. This is true as well. I agree with you. To get rich while the weak ones fade, empty pockets never make the grade. God bless the child song. My cable line will give you a lot to think about. I'm not going to say or discredit anybody else's cable line. What I think my cable line will do is make you question the need to spend more money. And as long as I can as long as I can plant a seed of doubt, I have won the war. That's how I see it. Because I've said it a million times. If you have two components, component A, component B, and you're trying to make an educated decision, you're listening to both of them at home. The dealer was nice enough to let you hear both. And you're comparing to figure out which one you should buy. But they both do so many great things that you can't make up your mind, right? I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to help you make up your mind. Buy the cheaper one. There, I helped you. There's no reason why you should be unable to make a decision between two components, one expensive one and one cheap one. Okay? If you're listening to both of them and you like them both equally, you buy the cheap one. Stop worrying about the expensive one. Period. There shouldn't be a decision here to be made. You should be buying the cheap one if you can't really decide between the more expensive one and the cheap one when you're listening to them in your own environment. I wouldn't call it sound signature. What is their sound signature in a few words? I think the Boris and sound is a very big, enormous sound stage, regardless of the cabinet size. It could be the small the small X1s or the M1s, stand mount speakers, it doesn't matter. They will scale as if they were the bigger speakers that you oftentimes see standing right next to their bookshelf speakers, their stand mount speakers. Okay, so they have a tremendous sound stage. They have a very, very impressive tweeter. And I say tweeter because that tweeter is magical. The clarity is incredible. The nuance, the way it connects to the mid range is really spectacular. They almost feel as if it was is a is a tweeter and a mid range in one single driver. I think it's concentric driver. They feel like that. They feel like they're fine tuned together. They play off of each other so well that you will never find them incoherent. It's such a very clean, clear sound that takes you away. I personally find them very musical myself. I find them impressive. They're very light, they're very fast as well. The sound is extremely immediate, clean, and clear. Is it going to be everyone's cup of tea? No, folks. Magical is not everyone's cup of tea. Neither is Wilson. Neither is Focal. Neither is Magnapan. There's no such thing. Okay, but I personally think they bring some special traits and some special sound characteristics that you are going to have a hard time finding with other loudspeaker brands. Thank you there. Appreciate Conman for this support. Much appreciated. Let me see. We're 2 hours and 6 minutes. One more question, my friend. Do you miss the Rockport Lyra speakers? Would you mind making a small comparison between the Boris and flagships? Do I miss them? I mean, I miss a lot of stuff. I miss a lot of components that I've had here. I miss the Griffin Coliseum amplifier. I miss let me see, the Boulder 2110. I miss the D'Agostino Momentums M400s. I mean, there's a lot of things. There are many things I miss. Okay, so yes, I mean, the Rockport Lyra is a stupendous loudspeaker. Unfortunately, in my room, I feel because my room is very heavily damped, very heavily treated. My room was a little bit of a challenge with that speaker. Remember, you have to, anytime you buy a loudspeaker, you have to try to make the room vibe, connect with the loudspeaker in the form of adding more treatments or removing treatments, which will be my case, or increasing the distance between you and the loudspeaker, or decreasing the distance. So there's always a fine-tuning phase that takes place anytime you insert speaker. Unfortunately for me in my room, the Lyras were, for me, they didn't have the best synergy with my room. Because when I went to John's room, the new owner of my former Lyras, that speaker sounds way better in his room than it did in my room. Again, I was shocked. But in his room, it sounded so much better than it does here. So, take it for what it's worth. And to answer the last question here, the small comparison between the Borison flagships. I mean, the M series is just everything that Borison knows when it comes to loudspeaker design, when it comes to what their beliefs are, when it comes to creating the most highly resolving loudspeaker that money can buy. The extreme resolution, nuance, speed, articulation, clarity, detail, musicality, even. Those are things that these speakers possess. I would not be surprised if I end up buying myself an M series loudspeaker. And here's what's attractive to me. What's attractive about their speakers is, number one, they're light, man. They're light speakers to move around. I'm used to heavy speakers, but I do like the fact that I can vacuum the room and just pick it up with one arm, move it, and then vacuum under it and put it right back. I like that. I like that flexibility. I like being able to play with them more without having to call 3 people to help me out, right? So the easiness of living with the Borison speaker is something that's super attractive to me. Also, Borisons are not too needy when it comes to room treatments. All right, they're not speakers that need like a ton of treatments. I've seen them work in rooms with very little room treatment, in living room spaces that are naked, essentially, and they sound phenomenal. So those are really the main qualities of the Borison loudspeakers. Okay, let's see. Will you ever have TC? Will I ever try ATC speakers? No plan of trying ATC speakers at the moment, unfortunately. A lot of their design is principles are around noise cancellation and resonance control. I agree. Yeah, noise isolation and resonance control are their main things. That's really what they want to focus on, because they feel that if you have those two areas under control, then the rest is going to be much easier. To build a quality speaker becomes an easier job for them. And I think it obviously speaks volumes about, what they think is important when it comes to loudspeaker design. Michael Borison is a very inventive person. The subwoofer looks like a ripe, which has been around for years, but maybe they can improve upon the existing designs. Oh, I think this subwoofer is going to impress some people. Trust me, when he comes out, I expect people to really call and want to hear that subwoofer. I think that subwoofer is going to sell quite well for them. Their amplifiers use Class D modules from Danish company Pascal, just like PSID uses a similar. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right. I didn't know that. Thank you for that information. Great YouTube channel. Please review the SP system for real-time domain. Someday, definitely. One question I would like to ask is why they use aluminum in the diaphragm. I don't really know, to be honest with you. No idea. I didn't catch that. Which speaker brand gave me the most pleasure and excitement? Question of the century, something that many of you have wanted me to answer. I am going to tell you that the speaker brand that I will say has given me the most pleasure and excitement throughout my journey is a brand that sits with me here today, and that is the Sonos Faber brand. Yes, I didn't stutter. You didn't see me thinking about my answer. Sonos Faber to me has been the most exciting, pleasurable loudspeaker that I have owned. Okay, that has been in my lab, not that I have heard at shows, that I have owned. And that Sonos Faber to me has been the easiest speaker to live with, other than the fact that they're large and heavy loudspeakers. Everything else about the speaker to me feels at ease, composed, organic, natural, not analytical, not hyper detail, not sterile, not dry, not lacking engagement. It's always been a superb speaker. Yes, it is colored. Yes, it has a certain sound to it. However, it continues to blow me away day in, day out. It has all the detail I could ever ask for. It still tells me when an amplifier doesn't have enough bass. It has been telling me here anytime I pull a component off the rack and introduce a new one, if that next component lacks bass, or if it has too much bass, or if the soundstage got narrower between the speakers, or if the soundstage got towards the outside of the speaker, or if it got clearer or warmer or more veil. Believe it or not, the Sonos Faber, being a color speaker, can still tell you if that next component you're adding is taking away or adding better things to your system as a whole. So I was under the impression that with the Sonos Faber, I was going to not be able to review components because the speaker imposed their own tonal character, right? They give you the same flavor. I was thinking, you know what? It's going to be hard for me to review gear now because I'm not going to know what that component is doing. And I was completely wrong. Even though they have their own sound, you can still tell if things got brighter, warmer, again, fatiguing, dry. You can hear when a Class A amplifier hits its stride. You can hear how it sounds in the first 20 minutes, how it sounds an hour later, how it sounds 3 hours later. That tweeter in this Sonos Faber still tells you, hey, we are at in our full glory, full power, full liquidity. Class A is hitting its stride with those amplifiers. That speaker talks to me. And this is why I still believe my SC17 Sonos Fabers are the best loudspeakers that I have ever owned. I'm not stuttering. I'm not thinking about it. I don't care if I hurt anybody's feelings. It's my opinion, and I'm entitled to an opinion. You don't have to agree with me, nor am I going to ask you to agree with me. I'm not asking or seeking validation from anyone. I'm not asking to, hey, do you agree or disagree? I don't give a damn what anybody has to say. They are the best speakers I have ever owned. I'll say it again, that I have ever owned, that have my name on them. They are, period. Does that mean that I won't find something else down the road? You never know. Does that mean they'll never be sold? That's not what I said. As a matter of fact, the day they're gone, I wouldn't be shocked if I'm doing this. What did I do? I wouldn't be surprised. Okay? Very few people have seen this speaker. And once you hear it, you cannot unhear it. Trust me, to me, again, I live with this stuff. So my opinion comes from the heart. My opinion comes from ownership. Having owned multiple Wilsons, Focals, Magicos, Magnapans, Martin Logan Neoliths, I have a pair of Magical Q7s. Magical Q7 MK2 in storage right now, sitting there in AC, just sitting there that I can bring out if I wanted to and play with them. I have no desire to do that. Do you realize what I'm talking about? I'm talking about the flagship speaker from Magical back in 2017. How many people can say that? That I'm just leaving it alone in storage because I like these speakers right now. I don't want to mess with them. That's how strong I feel about these Sonos Faber. Now, of course, brands are going to scream and say, you're crazy. When you're ready for something better, then come to our brand. You're crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. Folks, again, I've never said that I know everything. I've only given you my opinion based on my own trials and ownership of such products. The level of romance that the Sonos Faber SC17s give me naturally, without me doing anything, without me having to buy all these tubes, without me having to buy all these cables and all these hacks and all these tricks and all these shortcuts, without me having to do a fucking thing. Sonos Fabers are just musical right out of the gate. And I appreciate that because it makes my job easier, because I can still dissect and wear my reviewer hat and vibe with the presentation and still take notes and understand what has changed with this presentation, with this new component that I may have introduced into the system. That's why I find them to be the best speaker I've ever owned. Best speaker I've ever heard of the show, man, it's been so many of them, I can't even remember. I don't even want to speak too much right now because it's let me think. Yeah, it's just I will have to think about that deeply. You're putting me on blast right now. It'd be hard for me to answer that question at this time. What amp would be good for your Sonos Faber speakers? I mean, there's many of them. The Apex sounds good. The Essence blew me away the other day. Yes, the baby stereo Essence blew my mind the other day with my Sonos Faber. You're like, 45 watt, 40 watt stereo amplifier blew you away with the Sonos Faber? Yes, amazing. The Essence Griffin stereo amplifier sounded amazing through my massive Sonos Power SC17s, believe it or not. New subwoofers are fascinating. I think you're going to have to stay close to those new subwoofers to see if maybe you can snatch a pair for your Rido speakers. Which brand subwoofer do I find the most detailed, advanced sounding, want to keep up with the best low standards you ever own? I got to be honest here. I think the Magical subs are the best ones right there. Now, I can't speak about Borisons. Again, I heard a prototype. I have not spent time with Borison subs. So they're not included in this conversation. But I can tell you, in terms of the detail, the pounding, the articulation, the layering, I think Magical subs are in a league of their own. Okay. And I've heard a lot of subs. JL Audio, I heard I had someone local to me told me they had the Gotham JL Audio, and they said that the Magical S sub, the big, I can't remember the name, the model, the big S sub, Magical blew his JL Audio Gotham away. That's what he told me. I wasn't there, but he told me the big Magical S sub was far better than his Gotham JL Audio sub. So take it for what it's worth. I'm telling you, I will say that Magical subs are some of the most special subs out there. That's not to say that others don't build great subs. It's not what I'm saying. But a lot of people have reported to me that their subs are fast, really, really tight bass, and articulate like no other. And last question of the day, will I do a video of the Grandioso M1Xs? Maybe, maybe not. They are right now for sale. I have 4 Grandioso M1X monoblocks for sale in case anyone is interested. As far as a review, they're packed away already. More than likely, I would say no. I'm not going to make a review on them because of time constraints. I got to keep moving. I got a lot of big stuff, heavy top-end electronics waiting for me. Like I said, behind the camera, I had the top of the line CH stuff, and here waiting to make an entry here. So there is going to be a lot more of that. If I run dry on gear to review, I may go and pull out my M1Xs and review them. But I do have 4 of them. And so if you have any interest, let me know. And that brings me to the end of this live stream, 2 hours and 22 minutes. I hope you all have enjoyed the pros and cons of my audio group Denmark factory tour. Stay tuned because next week I will unveil the best power amplifier that I have owned in 2024 and potentially the best power amplifier out of the 382 power amplifiers I have owned. Yes, that number is right. Over 300 power amplifiers have been through my hands, and I believe I may have the #1 power amplifier of all time. And do I expect that to be beaten? Based on what I know about what other amplifiers are out and about, I sincerely doubt it. But you know what happens, right? Technology moves on and new things keep coming out from different brands. So you never know what may happen. For now, though, you'll have to sit and watch this next video that will hopefully release Tuesday of next week. Stay tuned for more, guys. Please be sure to check out my website, jaysaudiolab.com. Magical Q7 MK2s are available. I don't have them listed. Macintosh 901 monos are available. I don't have them listed. And soon, Magical M2 loudspeakers will be listed as well. So if you have interest in any Magical M2s, you may want to let me know. Shoot me an email at jaudiolab.com if you have any interest in any of these items. Thank you for your support, as always. Really appreciate you. I hope you have enjoyed this factory tour of the audio group Denmark I did it with a lot of love and passion for you all, and continue again to support me and subscribe. Have a good rest of your day or evening, wherever you may be. Take care.